Hey, it's Renee Keel, host of TradeIQ and Chief Operating Officer at BrokerBin, the leading B2B exchange for IT professionals, resellers, and wholesalers. I'm thrilled to introduce TradeIQ to you, the podcast that shares the economic stories of IT hardware resale. Each episode, I interview an industry leader who embodies what it takes to realize success in the ever-changing and highly competitive secondary IT market. What does it truly mean to be an ITAD provider? How do companies mitigate supply chain risks? How can your business thrive amidst changing market conditions that eat away at profit margins? Explore these topics and more on TradeIQ from BrokerBin.com. And while I have your attention, I want to personally invite you to attend a BrokerBin Roadshow. This biannual event brings together ITAD and ITAM providers, wholesalers, resellers, and service professionals all under one roof for 2.5 days of high-value networking. Join us in London this May and Nashville in September. Learn more and register at brokerbinroadshow.com. Andreas Fibiger is the chairman and co-owner of Inside Systems, an IT hardware specialty company located in Denmark. His family launched the company in 2007, which was the same year Inside Systems joined BrokerBin. With a keen sense of infusing an organizational culture that's rooted in promoting circularity and sustainability, Inside Systems is not only interested in prolonging the lifecycles of refurbished hardware, but also working to nurture long-term relationships with its employees. Such a cultural mindset flows from management to employees and ultimately to Inside Systems customers. On this episode of TradeIQ, Andreas and I chat about what business was like in the startup days compared to business today. We also cover what it looks like to lead a company where employees want to work. So thank you so much for joining us. Tell me a little bit about what's happening in your world right now. Like, what's the weather like? What time is it? It's first thing in the morning here, so I'm still drinking my coffee.
Right, yeah. No, it's what, 3:30 in the afternoon. Weather is it's okay. I'm in Europe. I don't think it's much different from Minneapolis, but so far we're doing fine.
Yeah, but aren't you in the south of France?
I am south of France, so I might be a little bit better off than
I feel like
in
you're
Denmark.
a lot better off.
Yeah, no, it's I've been, I left. I moved out of Denmark 12 years ago, and first to the United Kingdom, where we actually set up business, sales office and warehouse, trying to expand the business. And eventually so I think 8 years ago, we moved here to the south of France, trying to focus on enjoying the weather more, and kind of we decided to consolidate the businesses and put it back to and keep it all in Denmark. We had a sales office as well in Turkey. Okay. So too many locations going on, and we needed to get our things in order back in Denmark and kind of start growing from there before expanding to other locations.
Makes sense. And what a great opportunity. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I do have some questions for you if you're up for it today.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so tell me, Andreas, how would you describe the secondary IT hardware market and your niche within that market?
Yes, that's a good question. Actually, just wanted to say quickly, I'm the chairman of the board of the Inside Systems, also co-founder. Was founded with my wife in 2007. And also I hold the position as a chairman of the CDI, the ITAD Association. It's the daily operations of Inside Systems it's handled by our CEO, Niklas Rasmussen. So just want to get that formally in place.
Yeah. So thank you for doing that.
So back to your question. The secondary IT market, it's a real global market. I mean, generally speaking, a bit like the stock market, where you have the reference prices all trading in the US dollar. And there has been some ups and downs, like in the stock market, good times, bad times. It's especially last year, I think there was a bit of a downturn in the last 2 quarters. We saw some big fluctuations as well on prices for memory modules, CPUs in the beginning of last year. That kind of has I wouldn't say equaled out, but it's part of the game. You know, you have the good days, bad days. Also, other parts, the prices would increase. So, which is good for all inventorying resellers. So, I would say the other part of your question is about our niche market. So, I say Insight Systems has always tried to try to be a reliable partner and focusing on quality and availability of a wide range of products. And we had partnerships with the strategic partnerships with the vendors like IBM, Dell, Lenovo, HP, partnerships to supply and to provide their refurbished equipment. And it's because you want to buy used equipment from IBM. It's going to take 3 to 4 weeks to take delivery. Same with HP. So we buy up speculatively, put it in inventory, and then we can ship those parts immediately, day to day. And this is kind of our niche, so to speak.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And you guys obviously worked diligently to create those relationships with the manufacturers, I'm assuming, correct, to be able to do that?
Yeah, that's I mean that's important work, and it's part of where we source our products. It also comes from end users where we have contracts to ITAD contracts. So this is also kind of, I mean, our business has kind of shifted from just being a reseller to being a full circle ITAD provider. And ITAD is the IT asset disposition. That means covering all the services around the hardware that you can think about. Anything from deinstallation, the secure transportation, and all the data sanitation, which includes the data wiping, shredding, refurbishment, testing, and recycling, eventually where you have to dispose in a secure and environmental friendly way of products that cannot be resold. So this is also one way we get hold of a lot of inventory that comes from customers who actually pay us to perform these services, and then we can sell it again, and hopefully we get paid again.
Yeah, right. So, right.
That's the business model.
I was just going to say that's the business model. Yeah, exactly. So this is kind of a similar question, because I think what you just described is actually what does make you different from other resellers, correct? That is what's making you different in the marketplace.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there are also lots of ITAD providers. We work with them, but it's really come to a game from where we used to be a basic box moving parts reseller going years back, and the more services we can kind of wrap around the product, I think that's for the long term, that this is the way you can, as a company, become more professionalized. And this is where our transition, so to speak, has been in the last 5 years, going from just being a hardware reseller and to an actual ITAD service provider.
Right. Full service. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So what do you feel like you have a common myth, one or two common myths about what you guys do, about your work, that you would like to take the opportunity to debunk?
Yeah, thanks for that question, because that's really there are definitely some myth, especially in our industry, and we tried to address them. We've done a blog. It's on our website where we put down a few of them. But to mention some of the most common ones, I would say it's usually because of used hardware. People would say, "Oh, it's poor quality. There's old data sitting on drives. There is a poor performance because it's used." But sometimes rightfully so, these concerns are real. And recently we heard, I mean, a couple of years ago, we heard the news about JP Morgan, who used some sort of a metal scrap dealer to remove all their IT assets. And it turns out that they did not encrypt the data on the hard drives, but that company was not even doing any data wiping.
Oh my gosh.
And this is, it's like a wake-up call. It's so important for any companies to take care of their data security and make sure that they use that they use a professional ITAD provider to handle their like the refurbishment and take out of hardware.
Yeah.
So, but to put down the myth, I would say, because if it's handled professionally, you can refurbish most of the equipment and bring it up to standards. I would say, except for used batteries, there might be a point. I mean, because we don't have the facilities to recondition lithium-ion batteries. These they just need to be replaced with new ones. But besides that, it's not like I mean, for the rest of the hardware, CPU chips, memory, hard drives, servers, you know, it's not like knives, you know, in the kitchen that they lose the sharpness after the more you use it. You know, wear and tear on IT hardware doesn't really show because the CPU would run at the same speed, the hard drives would deliver the performance, and once they pass the test, they can actually go on for many years, decades even, in most of this hardware. Yeah. And the reason it becomes obsolete is typically because of the manufacturers. They put in discontinuation programs, they stop the service and support, or don't allow software updates. So eventually the product will be obsolete. And
but there are certainly so many benefits to using a refurbished product. I mean, and it's not just price, right? I mean, it supports the circular economy. It's a more green way to approach your business, obviously, more efficient way. I mean, do you want to speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's especially a point where BrokerBin has come in very handy, because that allows for a way to source legacy parts to keep systems running for an even longer time. And this has been our approach as well, to how to find an online channel where we could not only sell but also procure end of life spare parts.
What is it that when you were getting into the business, you know, way back when, right? What enticed you at that time? You know, what enticed you to get into this business? Or like, what were you doing at the time, and how did you make that transition? Tell us a little bit about that story.
Yeah, okay. So I think from I was young, I was always very curious and passionate about technology in general. So when I was 18, I was serving in the army for almost 2 years. But when I was done with that, I took a year off. I actually took a job as a store manager for a computer gaming store.
Oh,
and I worked there a little less than a year, but it was a great experience to work with customers and getting to know how to sell and how to talk to customers, and also to get to know some of the suppliers of the hardware and the products. So later, then I went to study at the university and studied data science for a couple of years. And then I was able to have a little side hustle selling rewritable CDs and other computer parts to some of the other students. And also I took a weekend job working for a local service company, an IT service company. And this is kind of how I found my way into the industry, I suppose, because I was given a car and a phone, which was a mobile phone, which was a pretty big thing back in 1997.
Was it in like a bag or a box?
No, it was one of the bigger Nokias, but still very one of a kind in a way. Yeah. And so I was doing weekends. I was driving, doing on-site visits, break and fixes at customer sites, and a great way to learn how fragile some of these companies were if their IT were not running. You know, then they were really in desperate need of getting hardware, spare parts, and everything. So I think that was kind of my baggage going into the IT brokerage, and I started into sales shortly after my learning experiences as a technician, and started training mainly Sun Microsystems and IBM. And one thing led to another, actually, and I met my wife also in the first company I worked with. And when we got married, we decided to start our own business naturally. So great. That's kind of the background.
That's a great story, and how cool that so many of your jobs and levels of experience sort of gave you the exposure and the insight that you would need to get going in this industry. I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah, thank you.
My son is about to start college this fall, and he's been talking about data science. So I'm going to let him listen to this podcast so he can hear your story.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's interested. I think it's a computer science, or I can't remember how the degree works, but then you kind of pick this like data science track. Does that sound right?
Yeah, in my days that there was like a hardware and the software line. And I
Okay.
went and I did actually go on the hardware line, although it included learning programming, some, I mean, basic things. But honestly, after 2 years, I was making so much money doing the IT services and my side hustles. So I quit the university and started working full time.
Yeah, well,
And
there you go. And look, that's worked out very well for you.
I haven't looked back ever since, to be honest. But I
That's
fully support anyone, and I would not recommend necessarily to break up a university student.
oh gosh.
Finish what you start.
Yes, well, that's awesome. You have a great story. I love it. So back
Thank you.
when you were in startup mode, Andreas, what were some of the top challenges that you faced?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's probably not a lot different from any startup. You know, you really need to secure your cash flow and make sure that you treat your customers well, deliver more value than your competitors. Then they will stick to you. And of course we decided to become a BrokerBin member in the early stages, and I think that was a good choice.
Okay.
It's when you are as a small startup, you know, you need to have some credibility. So it's not, I mean, BrokerBin was one way, but it also ACDI, we became a member right at the beginning. That organization is one of the oldest ones, going back to the 1970s, covering computer deals international, and is now an ITAD organization really. But they have a very strong code of ethics that you have to subscribe to, and also great conferences at that time. That was also a good reason, of course. But it's the vetting process. Yeah. It kind of gives you like a stamp of quality. I suppose once your company is approved, and like you have in BrokerBin, the seal of trust. There's something like this. It's it shouldn't be like a pacifier, because you got to make sure that you always, I mean, every day you still have to practice the high standards around the clock. But it's a good it can be a leverage to credibility.
Wonderful. That's great. And again, like I was just saying, I think like the networking opportunities through belonging to an association or another group are really very beneficial as somebody is trying to get started.
Yeah, and there are more. Fair to say, there are a range of different associations that you need to find out what is your business, what is your core business, and then join these communities. Also, it's a good way to connect with other customers and clientele, and to learn and get access to content. And yeah,
that's wonderful. Do you have a first big success moment as an IT reseller, or something that you can really define as your first big moment of success? Anything you popped a bottle of champagne for?
yeah. So I don't need a lot of reasons to pop a bottle. But I would say, I mean, looking back, I think, of course, when you do the first deal in a new company, that's like a little milestone. And I think it's the same goes for all the sales reps that we have had in our company. The first deal they do is something they don't forget it. It's an important step, and of course that should require popping a champagne. That you need to celebrate that, of course. It's for the company as a whole. I think when we concluded the first contract, which was with IBM IGF, which was the IBM Global Financing, and the GARS division, which is the Global Asset Recovery Services, to getting that contractual agreement where we could supply all the IBM refurbished kit, and we could buy it for inventory. We could still do retesting. We could break it down and sell it for parts and give that availability to our customers, like almost 24/7. Whereas IBM wanted to deal with the customers as well directly, but they are so big, you know, they needed 2, 3, 4 weeks to ship anything. So that was a success moment. I think we found our niche there where we could supply our customers quicker.
That's
Like
wonderful.
wrapping a service around the product. That's basically, it's called availability and logistics.
That I'm sure was very exciting for you guys. Oh,
yeah, it's
awesome. So when you think about your journey from then till now, is there something that you can point to that really surprised you along the way?
Well, there's been a few surprises. I would say what we did early on when we built the company, we decided almost from the beginning that we would try to make this not like a self-sustainable company, but we wanted to make the company not too dependent on any individual, including me and my wife ourselves. And there was like an exercise that we have been building into our operations since the beginning. So it's because we knew otherwise we were kind of doomed to run our own show for as long as it takes. You know, it's of course a bit controversial because we sat with a lot of knowledge, and we'd have to open up and become more fragile, basically, because you're gonna have to share all your secrets kind of with a small circle of employees, and it's that can hurt if you don't have the right people on board.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, as an engineering way, probably say you kind of we wanted to design the company a little bit the way a server is designed. You know, you have redundancy for all small parts. You know, you don't want to have any single point of failures. So make sure you can replace the part quickly and not have any downtime. So it keeps running all the time.
I love that. Steal that analogy. I love that.
Yeah, in a way, that's how they do it with servers, right? So, and then you put more servers in, and it's the same also in bigger corporations. They don't want to get too dependent on any individual. But of course, when you look back and once you're in it every day, you know, you're crunching, you are very dependent on every single employee. Today we have 35 people employed, and we couldn't do it with less, basically. So we are very dependent, and I mean, and if we could, then they should have not be there, right?
Yeah.
So
that's wonderful.
I would say one way that we kind of had to approach this is with the whole information and knowledge sharing, which is also not controversial, but it's a difficult task because we have so many different products, thousands and thousands of different part numbers, and you want to catch a lot of information, a lot of knowledge, and then put it into your IT system and make sure that it's accessible for anyone. I mean, from the technicians to the sales guys to also to the information you can give to your customers that you can, I mean, so that basically anyone within the company can answer more or less any question from any customer. And it's not down to necessarily that, there's only this guy can do this. You know, we want to try to avoid as much as possible situations like that.
Yeah. I love that. It's very insightful of you guys to build your business that way. I feel like, because you think a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of people, when they get started, just try to do it all, you know, and hold it all kind of close to their chest. And besides burning them out, like you said, then there's, you know, one point of contact is can be scary for a business.
Yeah, it is. I mean, because we have seen it, and it was especially very much the what do you call it? It was the trend, I would say, in the resale industry, at least 20 years ago. I mean, there was a lot of one-man show or smaller businesses, and because there was a guy, he had one or two contacts, that was enough just to keep some business going and running, and they would keep everything to themselves, and the struggle becomes to how can you grow the business, and how can you grow anything if you don't want to share anything. And this is it's a different balance, a difficult balance. But for us, it included a lot of, just a determination to say, okay, we're gonna go this way. We wanna have the company to grow. We want to survive in the long term, and that means we're gonna have to basically make ourselves redundant. So me and my wife, that's also why we left the company and employed CEO and management and everything, and we're trying. It's like in a way we're testing it, but it requires a lot of documentation. All your processes and everything has to be written down. But it has been good because all the documentation, all the paperwork kind of came in handy, because the last 3 years we've been doing all these certifications.
Right.
So we have the ISO 9001, 14001, 27001, 45001, and an R2V3. And trust me, the people who are doing the certifications are very happy that someone else already has written down what is here, so we could just hand over the papers to the auditors basically, and they would give us their accreditation. So it's not wasted in that sense, and also it's always good to think. So what happens, if your colleague doesn't show up tomorrow? It could be he gets a new job, or he's sick, or maybe maternity leave or whatever, So if you kind of just put in that premise from the beginning, then you have something that you can build on, and it's that's.
I love that. Not a lot of small companies or small organizations are that prepared or organized. So I give a lot of credit.
No, but it's a
lot of work to set that stage, but it obviously for sure pays off.
I think it's a necessary step, and it's something I've just seen it too many times. A few people gone and the whole company kind of crashes. So of course, any company is fragile. Losing brains, that will always hurt. But at least you can only do as much as you can, and make sure that you have things in place. You have onboarding routines. You have all these things, so that you can quickly put in new people, and that's also good if you not only if you have a setback, but also if you want to grow. And we've been through that process, growing fast, went from 20 to 35 people in the last 3 or 4 years. So we've been onboarding people, and it's important that it can go fast. So because otherwise it's going to take resources from the mentor. We always put in a mentor when there's a new employee. So then it takes out 2 people really, and where you should be a +1. So it's important to have these processes that you have to train, and you can then encourage all the employees to share the knowledge, and then we can move quickly, and they can see how the feedback works. They can grow together.
And I'm sure this is incredibly beneficial to your company culture as a whole, right? It's making everyone feel involved. There's transparency across the business strategy and who's doing what, but also knowing that they can impact the business in other areas as well. And I'm sure it's building a lot of camaraderie amongst the employees, and so that's great.
It's for us it seems to be, as long as we're transparent and open about it from day one, basically, that we're in this together. So everybody wants to grow. Nobody can be happy if there's one guy, he's running with 200 miles an hour, and everybody else is not doing very well. So we want to make sure that everybody is performing at a good level and a certain pace, and that's the only way for the whole company to grow, that everybody is part of it equally, in a way.
That's great.
Yeah.
You want to share with us what you feel like your biggest setback has been? Do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah. I say we learned a few lessons the hard way, of course, also in the last 17 years, and it also comes down to we've been tested as well on our how redundant free are we, how able are we to cover these. There are really no bulletproof way, but I think overall our model has really proven to work for us, because we are still here and we're doing good. We have shifted some really good people. Unfortunately, that's always that hurts, but also some people that were just not at the right place at the right time, so that has been necessary. But yeah, I would say it's that's the only thing. I mean, for the setback point of view, of course, we have also tried to lose money. Customers didn't pay, or we've been through all that, and that's things that we try to learn from it, and then we change our behavior a little bit towards a certain group of customers, and try not to punish everybody by prepayment, for example. But for the employee side, that is, I mean, our employees are our greatest asset, and it's we try just to make it really simple and put the employees first in all aspects. Quite basically, you know, we treat the employees well, and then employees will treat our customers well. Yes. And that's the basic sentence.
Yeah, that's great. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah. So do you have any lessons that you've learned? I know you've been talking about some of these lessons, but anything that you feel like you wish you would have known early on? That's a tricky question, because we all have to go through these things.
Yeah.
It is a process, but something that you could share for somebody maybe trying to get started. You know, here's something I wish I would have known when I was at that stage.
Yeah, it's I cannot probably be too detailed. I'm still in the game. I haven't retired, but I say it's important to stay humble and just be grateful, really. I think especially when I was, you know, a young gun, we were making good deals and good money. You know, you think you own the world and you can do everything by yourself. And this is kind of like where we also try to, okay, let's challenge that mindset a little bit, try to take a step back. And then sometimes you find out, or you will eventually learn that that you have support from your spouse. In my case, my wife. You know, it was very important. Also, that your family is behind you. So no matter how much you try to avoid this redundancy issue, you know, eventually you are dependent on other people, and it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we all would want to tell our younger selves that in work and in life. It's okay. You don't have to do it all. Use the people around you, right? Like, use the support around you.
Exactly. Yeah.
I feel like most of us come out when we're young, kind of come out into the world thinking we're going to, you know, do it all ourselves, conquer it all on our own. And it's not like in the long run, that's not going to work.
No, I mean, I think that's very normal, especially and it was also the way I saw it in our industry, some of the companies, the way that there was a big division between the sales department and then the warehouse and operations, the whole operations of the company, you know, because the sales guy was like, yeah, know what, I closed this deal, done, here's the PO, boom, boom. And then everything that was, all the wheels that had to turn, you know, to make that deal go through, from everyone in accounting to the goods in receiving, the technicians, the logistics, I mean, the whole wheel. And this is something that we needed to try to get like a full circle understanding about, and also we practice that in our company, so we can't really have those you know, if they are too clever, you know, some wise guys in the company, I mean, said in all respect, the really high performance sellers, they're not always the best at understanding the concept here. So so we have turned down some of these, although on the short term this hurts on your earnings, but if that mentality just doesn't fit the company culture, then the damages in the long term can be more severe.
Right. That's exactly right. It goes back to your first piece of advice, which was stay humble, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's tough, and I still have to remind myself once in a while.
Yeah, we all do. Yeah, we all
And
do.
also stay grateful. I think that's
Very important.
that's a good one. Yeah.
Very good. Yes, it's very good. What motivates you to keep doing what you're doing in the business? What keeps you wanting to stay involved in the business?
Yeah. Okay. So I would say, like there are good days and there are bad days. I think in any business or in anyone's life, really. So sometimes you just have to, you need to monitor that and make sure that you come out of it in a productive way. Find out when there's a bad day, what is the reason, what happened since it turned out to be a bad day. It's a mistake that happened somewhere, and can you learn something from that mistake? As well, you have good days. When I look back, they definitely outnumber the bad days, which is fine, which is good. And also, we want to make sure that we celebrate. Back to that popping of the champagne, for example. It's when you have good days, you have a good week, or you have a good month. Celebrate it, even if something small, and whatever it is. Make sure that you have these small celebrations, and make sure that they are, and that you celebrate that the behavior you celebrate, that you want to motivate or promote a certain type of behavior.
Right.
So to give you an example, there was you can't really celebrate failures, of course, or if there's just a status quo and your target is to grow, for example, then there's no need to celebrate it. It can have like an opposite effect. And also, you cannot really celebrate things that you can't take credit for. For example, a couple of years ago in the EU, there was a law passed for all European countries' governments to spend a certain percentage of the IT budgets in refurbished hardware. And this was great, and we saw a lot of companies that were like, but that's not a champagne-worthy moment. You've got to be very clear that don't pop that champagne until you've closed the sale.
Yes.
And it might be that the sale then comes from that law, then so be it. But just make sure that you celebrate the right things and the things that you deserve the credit for.
Yes. Yeah, that's good. That's really good.
That can be a motivator. So.
Oh, for sure. That's great. And so this next question really, we've touched on a lot of this, but just giving you an opportunity to add if there's anything more that you want to add in terms of what are the core values that you strive to infuse throughout your company. And you've touched on a lot of them, but I just want to give you an opportunity to speak to that.
Thank you for that, because the values, it's something that we work a lot with internally, and something that we also try to get everyone on board and on par with the same values. It's one thing is what I like. I think if you talk to anyone who knows me, they will agree when I say that I really love to manifest invisible things, and important things. And a value is often invisible, or it could also be your company policy in a certain area. It can be like milestone. If you want to do a celebration, that's also a manifestation. And so what we did, besides we have all our values and policies, everything is written down in handbooks and different policies here and there. But let's be honest, it's not the most exciting thing to sit and read. So what we try to do is we took some of the important ones, and we have carved them out in wood, and we put them on our wall in the company. So that we want to make sure that some people, they see some of the most important values, and values are there. It's a way to shape the desired behavior and understanding of the relationship between the employees and the company and the customers as well. So it's in our cafeteria we have.
Well, it's like for everyone to see every day, right?
Yeah, and we have in our cafeteria we have like a big wall. It's planted with green green plants basically, and then we have our logo, then we have some of these values carved out. We did actually many years ago, we were playing around with the letters inside, and we tried to create what would it take to be an insider, we kind of call it. So we define using like a phonetic acronym. So we attached a meaningful word to every, for the I, for the N, for the S, in the word insider. So and those we have carved them out in wood, and we put them on the wall in our cafeteria, which I like. So for an example,
very cool.
I can give you an example of the first two letters. And the first one is I, which is short for interest. So just to define that we value people, that they're interested in what they do, and we believe it's a fundamental value, basically, that in order to be able to learn something new, it's kind of important that you have interest and you take interest in what you do.
Yeah.
And the next word, the N, which is translated in Danish, means curiosity. Okay. And it's kind of in the same lane here as interest, but it's very crucial, and it really comes before being interested. And I think it also is the driver for any to make any new discoveries. Then then you have and so on. We have different letters going down all the way. And it's just a different way of doing it, but it's the manifestation is what I say, because I mean, and we do also have, we hand out a copy of the corporate handbook when we sign on new people, and I think every company do that. But how much understanding do the employees get from it? It's a tough read, and some people might be in a certain stressed situation, turning into a new job, and then sitting and going through 80 different pages, corporate culture. That's a tough one. But anyway, but we try to do it both, and this is just one way.
That's so cool. But even for that new employee who's coming in and maybe isn't quite absorbing, 80 pages of just, words, but they're coming into a culture that's actually living out what is in that handbook.
I think you
one thing to say,
I agree. I mean, carving out one word, put it up on the wall, they will see it every day. That will give so much more than even if you ask them to read the book, once time every month. It's not gonna. But in other ways, I mean, we also do other manifestations like anniversaries, back also in a bit way to the celebration. We have these we have logo pins, for example. I'm wearing one myself today just because I knew I was going to mention it. Here you see a little golden with the little logo inside. So all employees, they can get these at certain milestones, certain seniority levels. And of course, mine is the fully gold-plated one. That's a very senior, plus 15 years. We don't have any other ones.
In it or something.
We will maybe do one day. Actually, I thought also, how about a 50-year anniversary to do a fully hand-painted picture or portrait and put it on the wall. It was more like a joke, but I read about it. I don't know if do you know the Danish beer Carlsberg?
Okay. Oh yes.
Yeah. If because what they did actually, they did that hand painted portrait for the employees that had been there for 50 years.
Wow.
And they would get like a professional painter, and this was discovered in actually end of the last century, because they were cleaning out all the headquarters in Copenhagen, and then they found there was more than 150 of those portraits.
Oh my, that is so did you put them up somewhere? Yeah,
it was put up in the headquarters, and but now they have moved the headquarters, and everything is different now. But it gives you a little it was a different time, because they started getting people on board in 1800s, but still working more than 50 years for the same company. That's pretty big. And then with more than 150 people, so that's
well, I'm gonna make sure that we make a mental note, and however many years. How many years is it till 50 for you that we get to see your portrait? I want to see it.
Yeah. Well, I think the whole business landscape today is different, and it's much more hybrid. It's not like it was where last century, people got one job and they stayed with that their whole life. So that's not what I'm aiming for, but certainly I'm happy to celebrate that we can keep people on for a longer time, because this has been one of our, so to speak, challenges in the beginning. Also, this one of our focus areas to keep and retaining employees. So
that's amazing. And so just to touch on this a little bit, no doubt that kind of a culture then feeds into the relationships that your employees have with your customers in a very positive way.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also one of the core values we've written down, that we work for long-term relationships, and that goes for employees as well as with customers. And we still have a lot of customers that are still with us since day one when we founded the company. So we really try to say what we do and do what we say. Kind of basic thing.
It seems basic, it seems basic to say it, but really, I mean, that's hard to do. Many companies, many people struggle to, to do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah, it is hard work, because you're going to be challenged and from every angle when you run a business, and at some point it becomes sort of like a whack-a-mole game. You just gotta fix problems one by one, and you might be aiming for the day when everything is fine, company is running automatically, and you can just go sit on the beach. It's just not gonna happen. No, so that's gotta be real.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. It's funny you say whack-a-mole, because I hadn't thought of that before, but that is for sure how I feel many days.
But I think it's like that for 9 out of 10 people. Right. I mean, that's how you have to deal with it, and it's that's life.
Yeah, and whack-a-mole is kind of a fun game, right?
It is. Yeah, it can be. If you can keep up.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, Andreas, so you guys have been members, Inside Systems has been members of BrokerBin since 2007. So first of all, thank you very much for your membership and your partnership. And can you speak a little bit to how BrokerBin has supported your business in terms of what advice you might have for other members to maximize their membership, or how you're using BrokerBin to support your business?
Yes. So first of all, I mean, BrokerBin, that was our way of finding sort of an online channel to push our products for search for anyone globally, and also for sourcing parts. I think that has been a good asset for us. We've been using it actively, and we've been, I think, as an advice, I would say. Depends on, of course, what kind of business it is, but just be transparent about it. What kind of business you are, what is your business model? Be transparent about that. We have always said that we source our products directly from the manufacturer, the refurbished programs, or from end users through our ITAP programs. Mm-hmm. So, and then also be transparent about that the products you're listing, that you actually have them in stock, and that you can actually, that you fix problems if there are any problems. So spend a little time on your BrokerBin profile, perhaps, and make sure it's up to date.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for that little plug, because that is what I've been really preaching as much as I can right now, is that we just want transparency within the network. So update your profile, explain what you're doing, share your business model. I think that's only going to help the entire platform and the entire industry. For everyone's business for it to be clear, like what everyone's role is in the in this marketplace.
Especially, and also I see recent years some of the newer companies, I mean, they are listing not bogus, but they are listing tons of part number lines and inventory lines which they don't have or may have access to. For me, coming back, 20 years ago, where we were still faxing out our inventory lists to our, we had a fax broadcast button, we would speed dial some of the numbers, and you better. I mean, if you show a machine and you don't have it, I mean that would be game over. You know, I mean, and I know with BrokerBin you could have a few lives, of course, in case you list something that can be errors. But I would say for us it has been key that what we show on BrokerBin, it's what I call pick and packable, and that means it's on the shelf and maximum in 4 hours it can be packed and shipped.
Okay,
so
pick and baggable or pack and baggable?
Pick and packable, yeah, we call it, because we have our warehouses divided into sections. One section is we call it P&P, and it's short for pick and pack.
Okay.
So
that's great.
Yeah.
And what are the best resources that have helped you along the way, whatever they might be, whether it's, I mean, we talked about associations, other networks, you know, so what would you, what resources would you recommend to others that have helped you?
Yeah, that's.
You might have already said that.
Yeah, I think did we go over that? I think get some memberships of certain relevant organizations, like that ASCDI, or maybe there could be one of the other ones. And for BrokerBin as well, you also do some sort of validation and background checks. You have a good list of companies to watch out for. So I think also, I mean, it's you know, good people do good business with good people, and that's why we want to make sure that we can have some sort of a vetting process and make sure that we can kind of carve out all the rotten apples, you know, down the line. And because this is important, because you can get burned, and as a newer younger company, you know, it can hurt a lot, even if it's a small customer or a small deal that goes belly up. Then it's tough. Yeah,
it can be tough. Well, tell me where listeners can find out more about Inside Systems, your website.
Yes, I would say, of course, our website, but also they can check out our profile, BrokerBin, for sure. And we have a good community also on the website. We have blogs and news sections, and we have a web shop actually. But
social media.
This is social media. Yeah. I know we have profiles on Facebook, LinkedIn, of course, Instagram.
Yeah, great.
And it's and YouTube even. We have some videos.
Oh yeah, that's great. Oh, that's cool. I will for sure check out your YouTube page. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Andreas. I really appreciate it. I don't get the opportunity to chat, you know, this much with our members often enough, and I really enjoy it.
Thank you, Renee.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for having me.
Yeah, we'll be in touch. Take care.
Yeah, take care. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks again to Andreas Fibiger at Inside Systems for joining the podcast. TradeIQ is a production of BrokerBin, the leading B2B exchange for IT professionals, resellers, and wholesalers. Subscribe to TradeIQ for new episodes as we share the economic stories of IT hardware resale from industry leaders who work tirelessly to expand asset lifecycles and eliminate e-waste. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on TradeIQ from BrokerBin.com.